This is CTV. Don't blink.
Do you love me?
Very much.
In the headlines tonight,
we'll close for Term 3 holidays on Friday, 25th November 2022.
Ministry of Education and Sports has announced that the school term will end early to control the spread of Ebola among school goers.
And we want evidence that finance did not release all the money.
Speaker of Parliament Anita Among has directed the Ministry of Health to produce evidence indicating the payment of salary arrears to the striking medical interns. Kampala Capital City Authority has announced plans to improve 27 roundabouts in and around Kampala. And in sports, 7-time league champions Express FC have defeated league leaders Bull FC in the Star Times Uganda Premier League. A very good evening to you and welcome to CTV PM Edition with me, Melissa Mboha, and Isaac Lichamuzi on Sign Language. We start off from the education sector, where the Ministry of Education and Sports has today announced that the school term will be ending early to control the spread of the Ebola virus. The announcement comes at a time when over 800,000 pupils across the country have started sitting for their primary leaving examinations. The details.
This morning, primary 7 candidates lined up in their respective schools to sit for their primary leaving examinations. In the Kampala metropolitan area, schools prepared thoroughly for the exams that are being written at a time when the country is grappling with an Ebola outbreak. In schools such as Old Kampala Primary School, Chitanti Primary School, and Cream Hill Schools, pupils arrived on time, but the examination papers arrived late. Some of the head teachers we spoke to revealed how they have mentally prepared their pupils for the final exams.
I want to give confidence to our parents that much as we began with the other challenge of COVID-19 and the later part of the year, we are almost ending with Ebola. We have stood firm amidst all these challenges and our kids are very well prepared. Dear parents, be firm, but give us the prayer. We know by the end of it all, we shall have a very successful team.
A number of pupils from the schools we visited revealed that they are ready to perform to the expectations of their parents and teachers.
I think this time we are going to get aggregate 4, many of them.
We should not be worried. We should have that confidence because I know that we are going to get our 4.
Meanwhile, this morning, the State Minister in charge of primary education, Joyce Mariku Kaduchu, announced the early closure of the school's third term.
Pre-primary, primary and secondary schools will close for Term 3 holidays on Friday, 25th November 2022. 2. The district's city municipality education officers and head teachers should take note and act accordingly.
According to Kaduchu, the third term was supposed to come to an end on the 7th December 2022, but it has been cut short to curb the spread of Ebola in schools.
Upon completion, children will be required to immediately return safely to their homes in a staggering manner to avoid congestion and congregating. 6. The school administration will also be required to decontaminate all school facilities and make them safe for children's return next year, 2023.
According to Uganda National Examinations Board, Uganda has registered an increase in the number of candidates going to sit their primary leaving examinations. The year 2022 has seen 803,049 candidates register for the exams compared to 749,761 candidates who sat for the exams in 2020 at the peak of the COVID-19 pandemic. Chris Semakula and Sharon Twebaze, CTV PM Edition.
The Speaker of Parliament, Anita Among, has directed the Ministry of Health to produce evidence before Parliament indicating the payment of all salary arrears to the striking medical interns. The directive was prompted after a revelation by the State Minister of Primary Healthcare, Margaret Muhanga, that all arrears were paid to the interns. Take a look.
This week, the intern doctors started their industrial action demanding the Ministry of Health to clear their salary arrears and to ensure that salary discrepancies in the sector solved. During today's plenary sitting, Speaker of Parliament Anita Among asked the Ministry of Health to handle the issue without fail.
So I request the Minister and government to ensure that we see how we can solve this problem so that we have the medics do their work without any interruption. So we will ask the Minister of Health to come and update this House on how far, the Minister is here, how far you've gone with the issue of the strike and whether it is true.
Margaret Muhanga, the State Minister for Primary Healthcare, told Parliament that the arrears were cleared and the striking medics had called off the strike.
Honourable Speaker, the interns have been paid to date, and there's nothing that is left to be paid to them, and the strike was called off. The dentists and doctors were paid 2.5 million, the pharmacists 2 million, nurses and midwives 1.5.
However, Muhanga's submission was contested by members of Parliament.
Will you explain to this House, Honourable Minister, how many lives were lost out of that negligence, and who should we really demand to account? Because right now, Speaker, for the minister to simply casually come here and explain that they have after all paid, when people are complaining about patients not attended to because somebody is casually attending to duty, is unacceptable.
That they have never been paid. They have never been paid. Even after a pronouncement that they were paid for September and October, they have never been paid. They have not even called off a strike. They have not even been met.
Right, Honourable Speaker, it is very important that among these ministers, we find out who is playing with the House after deliberating ourselves to allocate money, and they come here, they start playing around.
The interns that do all this work. When you're in Kampala, at least we can talk about, but go outside Kampala. Even this little money that we are talking about, they don't get it.
A year ago, President Museveni promised to increase the salaries of all medical workers depending on their expertise and experience. The increment was supposed to start during the 2022-2023 financial year. After the exchanges, Among directed Muhanga to table evidence before Parliament showing the payment of the salary arrears. Acheng has to produce the evidence by tomorrow.
We need a comprehensive statement in this House tomorrow, which we will debate. We also want evidence of payment that should be laid on table, and we want evidence that finance did not release all the money.
Every year, public servants in the medical sector have been involved in strikes over low salaries, late payment, and poor working conditions. Sarah Nakandi, CTV, PM Edition.
Kampala Capital City Authority have today announced plans to improve 27 roundabouts around the city. KCCA will be working with the government of Japan through the Japan International Cooperation Agency, which will be investing $18 million into the project.
Kampala is one of the most congested cities in Africa, and during the rush hour, many traffic police officers and traffic wardens working with Kampala Capital City Authority are often seen on many roads trying to regulate traffic flow, which is often a difficult task. In a bid to mitigate the problem, Kampala Capital City Authority have partnered with Japan International Corporation JICA in a project that will see them reconstruct 27 roundabouts in Kampala City with an aim of improving traffic flow. JICA has invested $18 million in this project.
So when we get this kind of support from the government of Japan to the tune of $18 million, I understand it should have been $23 million had it not been the fluctuation of the Uganda shilling. So we have all the reason to celebrate.
According to the Lord Mayor of Kampala, Elias Lukwago, because of the heavy traffic congestion in Kampala, at least 52 days are lost annually, hence the $18 million investment.
4,000 man-hour lost by commuters on a daily basis. 24,000, which translates into 52 days per year. You can imagine 52 days lost in traffic jams per year by commuters. You and I, that's what we lose.
Rogers Nsereko Kauma, the Kampala Metropolitan Police Traffic Commander, says this is a good gesture geared towards improving on traffic flow in the city.
One factor, the lack of traffic signals, and remain with the indisciplined drivers and riders, because remedies to address these ones are there. That's if they come out of the crash alive. We therefore can't wait to see the project kick-started, because of the desired output it's going to bring about in the city's general traffic management. It's also important that we maintain the systems put in place in top-notch functionality and maintenance for sustainability, because some of these projects come up and then maintenance and, maintaining them well is poor. So they end up not serving the purpose for which they were put.
Fakuzawa Hidemoto, the Japanese ambassador to Uganda, says there is still need for cooperation, especially when it comes to infrastructure development.
Since this project is planned to introduce a traffic control system based on moderate, a Japanese technology, to create a sound and sustainable smart city, it can be said that this is a perfect example which reflects the ticket spirit that Prime Minister Kishida described.
5 big black spots or big impediments to traffic flow. We start with the common roundabouts like Mulago, the Grand Imperial up here, the Mortuary roundabout, Kubiri Junction, and it also deal with some tough junctions like the Spear Motors Junction.
According to the authority, the project will not only see the improvement and expansion of roundabouts, but also see the installation of traffic lights and CCTV surveillance cameras. The file was compiled by Chris Semalemu Semakula for CTV PM Edition.
Different stakeholders have called for resilient digital inclusion for all Ugandans, especially when it comes to internet accessibility. The call was made at the first annual Internet Governance Forum, which brought together organizations advocating for technological advancement among Ugandans. Hope Nyongereza has more.
We have had the profiles of our panelists.
The Uganda Internet Governance Forum kicked off this morning in Kampala, with the aim of advocating for secure digital inclusion for Ugandans in order to ensure internet availability, affordability, and accessibility across the country. Stakeholders in the information communications technology sector, such as Uganda Communications Commission, National Information and Technology Authority, innovators, and members of the civil society were all in attendance.
What does it mean for us to realize that resilience and inclusion in the digital world for Ugandans.
According to experts who spoke at the forum, it was revealed that although technology has been on a rampant rise, especially among the youth, many still fail to access it due to inaccessibility, poor connectivity, and low literacy levels.
The percentage of Ugandans that is left out, they are not in the formal education, they are not, in universities or the schools we are going in.
The National Information and Technology Authority, NITA-U, who oversee the use of internet in Uganda, say that their main aim at the moment is to expand the internet grid to some of the remote parts of the country.
Digital infrastructure is needed today more than ever. Over a number of years, government through NITA has implemented 4 phases of the national backbone infrastructure to try and connect the various places within the country.
A campaign against cyber attacks, especially on women, was also unveiled, revealing that they have come up with the policies that will protect internet users against cyberbullying.
Women are particularly targeted. Our society is very harsh to women, and there's very little implications to those actions. And a lot of bullying, unfortunately, comes from the males. There's a lot of cyberbullying, in as far as just general information posted by women, pictures posted by women.
As the country embarks on creating accessibility to Ugandans, the Internet Government Forum aims at building a resilient and digital inclusion for all Ugandans.
And if you look at our policies in government, they're inclined towards achieving that. One of them is the National Broadband Policy, which ideally speaks to ensuring connectivity for all.
This forum, which will be held annually, comes at a time when Uganda has made significant technological strides, such as sending its first satellite into space. Hope Nyongereza, CTV, PM Edition.
PM Edition returns shortly with more stories after the break.
Do you love me?
Very much.
I'll catch you one day. Pants down.
I want to spoil you. I want you to eat my money.
She believes I'm in love with her guy. Nico? If I had to leave everywhere I'm not loved, where would I end up?
The dirty guy hides in the hospital for 40 years, but at night, he walks the streets, commits crimes, and then he comes back and pretends to be alive again.
I will break you, Spooky. Do not answer any question about Roho. It's your brain!
Now showing on CTV. Don't blink.
It's it in the air! Will that be set?
He's done it! What a magnificent performance!
Recharge your day with Sting. Extreme energy, refreshing taste, available countrywide. Sting, life switched on, from the makers of Pepsi.
CTV is now on StarTimes. You can now catch all your favorite programs, our daily comprehensive news bulletins, and so much more on StarTimes channel number 248. Stay tuned for a world of endless possibilities. CTV. Don't blink.
Welcome back to CTV PM Edition with me, Melissa Mboha, and Isaac Luchamuzi on Sign Language. Moving on, Makerere University has organized a 2-week public special fair to issue unclaimed transcripts and certificates to the honors. Now this follows the backlog transcripts and certificates that are currently at the university. Take a look.
Makerere University is stuck with 121,393 unallocated transcripts and certificates belonging to former students who graduated from the institution as early as 1954. A lot of 88,032 certificates belong to students who graduated from Makerere University between 1954 and 2016. Another batch of 6,655 certificates belong to the cohort of students who graduated in 2017. The university says 9,046 transcripts are for the group that graduated in 2018, while 9,995 certificates are for those who completed their studies in 2019, and 4,957 transcripts belong to those who graduated in 2020. Of the 2,698 unallocated transcripts, 1,348 are for those that graduated in 2021, while 1,350 are for those that graduated in 2020. It is against the above reasons that the university has organized a 2-week public fair to exhibit and issue unallocated academic documents to their owners. The academic registrar, Professor Buyinza Mukadasi, says the university has run out of space to keep the unclaimed documents.
All of them have been printed. They are here with us. Our stores are full of certificates that have not been collected by their owners, and we wonder why.
The Vice Chancellor of Makerere University, Professor Barnabas Nawangwe, said that a digital app has also been set up to cater for the students far away from the university.
Seeing if we are able now to do that even online, so that the student doesn't even have to walk to those offices, but they can just request for clearance from those units, and that clearance can be given online, and that should be transmitted directly to the people who are handling the transcripts.
The students are to pick their documents at a free cost, except those that remained with tuition areas.
In event that there is one who graduated with a debt with the university, then we shall enter into a discussion with them, such that they really give us their payment plan, and when they intend to finally clear and pick their certificate.
We have agreed that clearance will only now be with the library and the finance department.
Various students also welcome the initiative.
Like after finishing your exams, like in the final year, it's a long process, and you move in this office, you find it is closed, you come back the next day. Okay, it is somehow tiresome. That's why we end up like giving up on these transcripts and certificate. So when a friend told me that there's a system going on, you just go with you just come with your ID. I had to come and use this chance.
But the process first, it was hard. So you could find that they send it to IT, after IT to Senate, from Senate to CTF, which could make it hard. But this time around, at least everything is there. It's here.
So far, not so bad, since we are not so many. I think most people are not yet aware. So the numbers are not yet overwhelming, and the process is a little quick.
A degree certificate is a document that specifies which degree program the student offered, while a transcript lists the course units, the exams attempted, as well as grades the student acquired in that particular course. Tony Patila Humza, CTV, PM Edition.
Several groups of people living with disabilities in Kamuli district have received 5 million shillings each from the National Special Grant for the Disabled in the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development. The money is intended to help group members set up income-generating projects. Take a look.
The money was handed over to the groups by Helena Samo, the State Minister for the Disabled. Asamo says such money has changed the livelihood of people living with disabilities in several parts of the country.
There's some improvement, and I want to believe that with the further concentration, further involvement in government programs, people in Busoga are going to change their livelihoods.
Asamo says it's unfortunate that people with disabilities are challenged to access several services in public offices and facilities like health centers and schools because of the architectural plans that do not consider them.
I recognize there's a challenge of the teachers here. Teachers would handle special needs education. For example, if a deaf went to hospital and is sick and there's no sign language interpreter, automatically there will be a communication barrier. But we are trying to see how we negotiate with the government to employ sign language interpreters so that these people can be given the services.
The leader of people with disabilities in Butansi Sub-County Kamli District, Paul Omara, says they are engaged in coffee, cocoa and animal production.
Are managed to buy animals, and right now we have started benefiting from them through getting milk, and that thing it has brought us together as PWDs.
Kamali RDC Rose Vironji tasked people with disabilities to use the money for the intended purpose, adding that once their lives change, other members will be inspired.
We have visited very many of the projects and we have seen that there's a positive impact. My appeal to those people who took the money or who got loans from the grant and also the Myoga, especially the Myoga, that they should refund the money.
She hailed some people with disabilities in Busoga region who have abandoned sugarcane growing to concentrate on other profitable crops.
In our regional news, as the Kenya Airways pilot strike continues, the airline was forced to cancel 75% of its flights on Monday, leaving thousands of passengers stranded. And in Seychelles, the president has praised the UN Climate Conference for including the key issue of loss and damage on its agenda.
Members of the Kenya Pilots Association began their industrial training on Saturday despite a court suspension order after it failed to reach an agreement in talks with management on better working conditions. The demands include the company lifting a suspension of payments to the Staff Provident Fund and for salaries owed from the COVID-19 pandemic period to be paid. The cancellation of flights by Africa's second largest airline is having a huge impact on travel across the continent. While some people have managed to fight alternative flights, others have not been so lucky. The government of Kenya is doing nothing about it to make sure that people go back to their homes. There are people who have work to do, and now we are stuck here like for 4 days. It is a long time, says South African Martha Magumbu. Others, like Ifebusola Shotunde, are disappointed as the alternative flights, they have substantially increased their travel time. I was supposed to go home today from Nairobi to Lagos, but due to the strike they have postponed our flight to 4:30 a.m. tomorrow. Now, I need to think about what I'm going to do tonight, and also the plans I made back at home, he says. The strike is exacerbating the woes of the troubled national carrier, which has been running at a loss for years. Despite the government pumping in millions of dollars to keep it afloat, it is also expected to have negative impact on Kenya's exports, as the airline transports some 150 tons of fresh produce on average to Europe and the Middle East. Seychelles President Wavoram Kalawan has praised the UN Climate Conference for including the key issues of loss and damage on its agenda. The idea that rich countries should financially support poorer states at the front line of climate change effects, known as loss and damage, has been a central priority for the island nations for the past 30 years. Ram Kalawan, whose country is a key member of the Alliance of Small Island States, called for more ocean protection and increased funding to boost the climate resilience of island and coastal states. He also announced that and the seagrass meadows, which are vital for species generation and carbon capture. President Ram Kalawan was speaking at a key African side event on the Great Blue Wall that seeks to fast-track ocean action by boosting livelihoods of coastal communities, supporting nature conservation, and enhancing sustainable blue economy. Speaking at the same event was Botswana President Mosquitis Masisi, who said that nations are racing against time to address adaptation to climate change. Masisi was joined by the President of Zimbabwe, Emmerson Mnangagwa, the President of Estonia, Alal Karis, and UN Environment Program Director, Inga Andersen. The President acknowledged the challenge to adapt to climate change while developing our economies to to be able to sustain the momentum of growth.
On the international scene, people across the United States are casting votes in the midterm elections to determine who controls Congress. For 2 years, both chambers, the House of Representatives and the Senate, have been controlled by Democrats. The Republicans are predicted to take the House, while Senate control is on a knife edge and too close to call. Now, losing either chamber would hinder the agenda of Democratic President Joe Biden. There are also state-level elections, which could mean new abortion laws in some states. Meanwhile, Donald Trump hinted he may announce next week that he is running for president again in 2024. American political parties have spent more than $6 billion on TV adverts ahead of the midterm elections. We return shortly with more news from the world of sports. Welcome back to CTV PM Edition with me, Melissa Mboha, and Isaac Lichamuzi on Sign Language. In the world of sports, 7-time league champions Express FC have defeated league leaders Bull FC in the Star Times Uganda Premier League. The Red Eagles defeated Bull 1-0 at Wankulukuku to record a third consecutive victory over the ginger-based side.
Express FC moved to 4th of the league table and 3 points behind table leaders Bull FC after a slender 1-0 win against the Uganda Cup holders. The hosts benefited from the home crowd. They grabbed the lead as early as the 11th minute when Alan Kaiwa comfortably beat the Bulls goalkeeper. Bull FC pushed for an equalizer, but the Express backline held on, making the game end 1-0 at halftime in favor of Express. The ginger-based side had most of the possession in the second half, but they failed to find the equalizer. The Eagles now sit in 4th on 11th point after 6 games. Bull FC stay at the top on 14 points, just a point below record champions SC Villa, who have a game in hand. In other games, defending champions Vipers FC drew 1-1 with Wakiso Giants, while Gaddafi, who hosted Bright Stars, defeated the visitors with 3-0. Tomorrow, KCC AFC are on the road to Bombo to play against UPDF. The Kasasiro Boys head coach Molebie Kwaso says they are aiming for back-to-back wins in the Star Times Uganda Premier League.
If we want to go on top, if we want to reach far, we need to see that we perform to our expectations, and they know what we can do best So they have already planned for us. We need to go with new and positive ideas to see that we overcome them and be victors in tomorrow's game.
We have come to the end of tonight's edition. Thank you for staying tuned in, and thank you for keeping it CTV. Catch us here, same time, same place. From the entire team, we wish you a good night and be blessed.